Thank you very much, Carrix. Our first game 5 of the split, and we're starting off with an invade. Be forced to flash away, but the engage comes through onto Kati, and it is first blood for BJ.
Okay, we're starting things off with an immediate bit of action where, until this point, really, GAM has been very passive inside of the very earlier stages of the game, right here looking for the first engagement. They walk right across the wall. How do they expect a river ward like that? How do you expect that ward to come through? Taki, you're a mad lad. That ward is useless in any other circumstance. But here, they catch them out flawlessly to be able to work things and to be able to get the kill up against Kati, to be able to burn B's flash as well, just to start off a game like this. You could feel the tension. You could cut it with a knife right now. These two teams are on such an edge.
I could feel the tension, and now I can feel the suspense for GAM. Because Rebel, on a scale of 10 to 10, how excited are you for this game?
I couldn't even describe it properly without going into the fact that literally since I started casting here, like Saigon Buffalo's roster had been reinvented. They almost got kicked out of the league when I first started. And so the first split I started casting, they jumped in with this roster. I've been here just about as long as this team has. And so I've gotten to watch everything about them since the moment of their inception. And casting them in a best of 5 where they go to 5 games was always a dream of mine. I want to do it on the world stage someday at some point. But this is the first opportunity I've had to cast them against the best team in the VCS. And to really prove themselves as being a world contender and to being a VCS champion contender as well. And so I'm just ecstatic beyond belief to be able to watch these two teams. I think this is exactly the two teams we want to send to Worlds, and we're getting our first taste of what it's going to look like.
Now, before we get any further into the narrative building, the story setting, I of course have to mention that all-important statistic that I've been doing this entire series, which is which player is playing a new champion for the first time this split. And actually, it's none of them. They've all played these champions before, be without one game on the Ash. So we've got something brand new for Game 5, which I think is also very interesting in its own right.
Yeah, there's nothing crazy about this. Both teams going back to some level of comfort, trying to figure out what it is that's going to work for them. Here it's GAM saying we have to contend the positioning of Shogun. We cannot allow him to play a front-to-back team fight again in one of these games. And absolutely going to be the case. Whereas the side of Saigon is actually playing a bit more of like a catcher type role. You know, they're geared up, they've got the helmet on, they've got the glove, and they're ready to wait for the engagement from GAM get delivered to them. Ki or Levi jumping in with Kati, but then you've got your own Renata ultimate, you've got Froggy's ultimate to be able to deny somebody access, you've got BJ to be able to deny access. It's a great circumstance to be able to attach yourselves to the engagement and try to win it before the side of GAM can burst out your ADC.
And we know on the analyst desk, Recollect was talking about this mid-jungle, the 2v2, how strong it is. We know how well BJ has been playing. Taunt's going to come through in the mid lane, but Levi will not follow up on the play. But to go back to that mid-jungle point, not only is this a very strong mid-lane jungle duo for Saigon Buffalo, but I also want to mention this is now Levi on the Wukong, because until now it has been BJ playing the Wukong, I think, every game this series.
Just about. Yeah, I think all of the games have just been BJ on Wukong, which is fair. He's been electrifying Wukong for the entirety of the split, so it's not shocking at all to see that that is the case for the series. And Levi wanting to take it away, wanting to set up the dive is a nice little kind of tip for his bottom side dive.
Every single damn game. Again, we get a teleport coming through. Taki's going to eat a couple of tower shots, but here is Kati. The steadfast presence denies the justice punch, in Saigon Buffalo will be on their merry way out, but all of this has bought time for Froggy just to push the mid wave in.
Yeah, and out of the things that were given up right there, you lose teleport on Kati, you lose cleanse on Style, the exchange. What do you lose for it? I guess you lose a Krug camp. You're going to lose a Raptor camp, maybe to Levi, unless he backs before it comes up. Yeah, right there. He's going to snag it up. So that's Poppy that's denied a little bit of farm. But the thing is, Shogun and Taki feeling comfortable on the bottom side. Yes, you didn't get a kill, but at minimum, you took off a lot of pressure. You have a lot more pick potential against a non-Buns Jinx as this Renata, and you burnt no summoners in exchange for it. So you can get more aggressive later. It's a setup, hopefully an investment that will pay some solid dividends as Saigon Buffalo develops further into this game. And GAM has to be cautious. Their bottom lane has been the thing that has been aggressed against for so much of this series, and it has worked. It's really paid off for Saigon Buffalo. So this game, it is up to Style and B to step up to the plate and say, we're not going to get beaten by these two that have been in such a commanding position for 4 straight games for the most part.
Absolutely so, and forget about banning away BJ's Pantheon, taking away his Wukong. You need to ban away that jungle pathing that ganked under the bottom lane outer tower, because it's been working so well for Saigon Buffalo. And maybe for the next time that these two teams face, GAM are going to have more time to really look into that playstyle from BJ and find a way to counteract it. As we see the mid lane is duking it out. Taki working his way up with BJ to get him some priority to invade into Levi's jungle.
Absolutely are. Just stealing back a little bit of something. Even though BJ's not really down all that much farm, it takes away a couple of the small raptors. B also has to flash. Okay, and Froggy didn't have to flash right there because his E was already set to go. This bottom lane, these two ADCs working in tandem with one another. I know it's supposed to be a good lane up against the Renata Glass. Maybe it's making it more difficult to capitalize on that side, but so far has just been bullied off at the moment. And now Style stuck underneath the tower, maybe just looking for camps because it was spotted out early by B. Don't want to get jumped on by this Wukong. Kadi has level 6 as well, so Kadi could easily make a roam happen.
BJ gets caught out by one of the flame trumpets. We'll still be able to walk out as Levi shows up and collects the remaining Krugs that were left behind by BJ's Poppy. We've seen so much aggression already this game. Just one kill to show for it, but that's a 1k goal lead for Saigon Buffalo, and we have our first streak of the game up and ready to be taken, and it is the Cloud Drake.
We do. And the more and more that we get into this game, the more I think that Froggy's wave clear is going to become an asset to this team, just because it's going to be even more punishing for Kadi to be able to step out of lane and just go for any sort of ultimate or something along those lines. You have no idea the level at which Froggy had trained for years of not CSing in the slightest to practice roaming out of lane as a Galio, so that he could look like a beast on the champion in the modern era. I mean, there's a time where he sacrificed 4 CS a minute, was down to like 6 or something on Galio on average, but it's taken him a while. And so Kadi having to figure that out too. Now that Lysandra has got a good amount of wave clear, Froggy can start making impact across the map as long as he is able to stay hidden at least a little bit from the gaze of Kadi. Both these mid laners wanting to make an impact elsewhere on the map. The first one that gets that strike feels like it's going to be such a domino tip in the favor of the team that makes it happen.
And there's one player that I really want to talk about. We've spoken in depth about quite a few players. We've spoken about Taki and B back in game 1. We then spoke about Shogun when he picked up that pentakill as well. We touched on how much of an impact BJ has had this series, but I really want to put a bit more emphasis on Kiaya as Kati's getting caught out by BJ, or maybe it's Kati doing the catching out. Froggy will show up the Hextech ultimate, and BJ will just knock Kiaya and leave Kati and Kiaya away, and the Ignite almost sends the Galio to the death chamber.
In an insanely different kind of turn of events right there. It's actually a really solid play coming through. BJ picking off one member, pulling in Kiaya for a little bit more. And the biggest thing is it resets the Rift Herald because Hazmat had come down and threatened Levi's position inside the pit, which meant you couldn't just sit there and solo it. Now you see the bottom lane coming through. B is only level 4, but is going to be here alongside Style to help support this Rift Herald take coming through. But it opens up bottom lane again. They've made this trade so many times, and it doesn't work out for them. Stop giving plates to Shogun. Stop giving gold to Shogun. You don't understand what this is doing to your team right now.
Shogun's just getting so many plays. It is a dumb 2 plates at 9 minutes. I do want to go back to that previous point about the top lane, because Kiaya, I think a lot of analysts would probably agree, or at least say is up for very close debate, that this is probably Kiaya's worst ever split, or in recent memory anyway. We have seen his brilliance from time to time. We've seen it in this series, how impactful he almost was on that Jax. Well, he was impactful, but it wasn't enough to turn this game around. So I am looking to Kiaya to be this veteran almost for GAM that can step up and carry GAM through this top spot and take them directly to the grand finals and to Worlds.
I absolutely agree with you. Kiaya is the difference maker in a lot of senses. We have so many good players on this team. This is a big one. Okay, a little bit of contest. I don't think anything massive is going to come of it yet. BJ is going to be able to walk away with the upgraded smite, take that dragon, not worry about anything. It was a solid bluff coming through from Saigon because they kind of...
Froggy might have to flash. He will. As Kati and Froggy just sail past each other like ships in a night sky. And then realize, actually, no, we wanted to fight there.
I am a little lost about what that was, because that's the first real... It sticks out like a sore thumb, because before that in this game, there really hasn't been that much of a difference in play. There hasn't been anything really wild happening, and so that little blunder right there from Froggy felt like such a sore thumb sticking out inside of a game like this, where everybody else had been perfect. That's just the first addition to the cringe compilation we've had since basically game number 1. as Saigon walks away again. 2 plates to Shogun, more valuable than anything you could do with the Rift Herald as long as it doesn't net first tower for the side of GAM. And the other thing is the first dragon, again, slowing down that stacking strategy for a team that wants to play around team fighting does help, because now you don't have the same kind of control. Again, if you get to 2 dragons as Saigon Buffalo, it feels like you are able to pick your fights on the time that you want, as opposed to being forced by GAM at any point where you can use this Galio and this Camille together. GAM, I think this is a solid first play. You're going to get a bunch of gold into style and a couple members of GAM together. Saigon Buffalo can't really contest your positioning. Hopefully it opens up for next dragon as well, at least a little bit of something. As 3 plates actually go over to GAM, they end up gold positive, even though it's split between Levi and Style compared to that bottom lane trade where Shogun got 2 plates.
And let's not forget as well, while there are a lot of plates that have gone Shogun's way, and now a couple of plates have gone to Style, Froggy has a huge CS advantage over Carti right now as well. It is actually disgusting how far ahead he is at 11 minutes. And could you imagine, back when you joined the VCS, right, and Saigon Buffalo were a new team, imagine if I said Froggy has a huge CS lead over Carti.
Yeah, listen, right? That alone is crazy, but also thinking the fact that, like, it used to be a running joke that Levi would steal Froggy's farm through, like, an ethereal portal somehow, and that's how he ended up with, like, 10 CS a minute. Look at Levi's farm. Levi's down to BJ about 25 minions as well. The portal has been reversed. Froggy is now stealing Levi. This is such a character growth moment for anybody that knows the way we classified these two a long time ago. As,
arrow into the top lane, into the hook shot, adaptive defenses. And it's so easy for GAM to get that kill. B from downtown with the snipe.
Absolutely. Now Carti under threat potentially. He's going to get bound
Locked
up.
down with a gravitum gun. Carti goes in, finds the knock up onto BJ under tower. Will run out of the tower with a steadfast presence. Could look for a re-engage. But all of this is just to buy time for Shogun to get more and more plates.
They know B's there. Okay. Yeah, just needs to escape here. And unfortunately, it's now 3 plates to Shogun. It should be 4 plates. It's like 1 auto away. He probably has to bail after this wave, unfortunately. But there was nothing traded for top side. So it was an additional plate, almost 2 additional plates to Shogun in exchange for that top side kill, which did burn both of Kiaya's summoners, as well as burning the ultimate from B, which was an amazingly shot ultimate. I want to give props to B for that one, because it's the first real bit of action we've had since the very early rumblings of this game, for the most part, as these 2 teams, again, it feels like they're waiting on bated breath to really put themselves in a position to look for their team fight. On one side, you have this heavy engage. The other side has heavy disengage. You've been able to rely on Shogun. Oh, it's at a base, too. Look at this mad lad right here. B. What a beast shot. They've been paying for it, it looks like, for a significant amount of time. It was just Hosman who was not ready for this arrow to come flying in, and it was all that was necessary. A little bit of CC. Hosman was stunned up until seconds later. I mean, the Ignite, I don't even know that was necessary coming out from Kiaya, but just to make sure that they had the cherry on top of things.
And it's one of the best things about Ashe, whether it's ADC or support, that you've got this random happy-go-lucky engage tool that you can use every 40 seconds or so, and just fish for an engage. And if it lands, maybe you can make magic happen. And if you can't, you get to try again in half a minute. Sure
do. One of the best parts about having the Ashe support is having all that extra cooldown reduction, or ability haste, my apologies, so that you can use that ultimate a lot more often. And it's something that you have to be very careful of, because again, with the engage range that a Camille and a Galio have, that a Wukong and a Galio have, with the rocket on top of it, like, you can hit somebody from a very far distance away and not really worry about the ramifications of it. Like you said, you can fish with it just a little bit. And so here, we'll see if GAM is able to exploit that as the game continues. But at the moment, we're still in a very calm state of this game. Most of these lanes have just been going on, all things normal, nothing crazy. Plates have dropped, so there's no additional gold to be pulled anywhere. So now Shogun and Style swap into the mid lane just so they can absorb as much farm as humanly possible. And dragons are what we are interested in very heavily now, because it will make a big difference, both for setting up fights on both sides of this team, but also who gets to dictate fights later on. If Saigon pulls 2-3 dragons, that's where they end up having the most control in the entire world, preventing that pure engage from GAM from coming in. Because if GAM has control of the dragons and of the river, it is really hard for Saigon Buffalo to not be forced into a fight if they want to try to contest that neutral objective.
No, Hasmed has teleport to make his way over to the river, and Kiaya doesn't. So Kiaya's going to be walking the long way down as B&J just starts on this Drake as soon as possible.
Okay, B&J's on the dragon already. In come Froggy and Hasmed running down mid lane and into the jungle, respectively. Who got ulted? It was Levi. It was Levi. That's big.
No jungle,
no smite.
No smite. And it is secured. Enchanted Crystal Arrow will, though, land. Steadfast Presence stops the engage from Kati. Able to land a CC. Handshake comes through, but Shogun has already fallen. Kiaya coming in from the side with a Hex Deck Ultimatum. In goes Froggy, looking for Kati, but able to jump away with a Hero's Entrance. Dashing away with a Justice Punch. And again, Kati survives with a sliver of health.
Don't know how he barely snuck out of that situation. The ultimate had come through from Nanada, and I thought that was going to be it as we get our first real scrap of the game. And props to Kiaya finding a kill onto Shogun in the midst of all of that madness to be able to put themselves in a good, much better gold position. They're now tied as opposed to anything else. B&J played this phenomenally. The ulting out Levi, getting the dragon, that was the big kind of play here. And I love that B&J again covers for the Taki escape this whole time. Look at Kiaya. All he had to do was jump on top of Shogun. A great ultimate from Style really secures that kill among all other things. And that means even with Flash and Cleanse, unfortunately, I don't think Shogun was quite ready for that amount of damage to pile up. Now, if they had traded on Ducati, this would have been a little bit better as another fight.
Saigon Buffalo want this. They're looking towards Levi, and Levi has no assistance. Saigon Buffalo get the kill, and Saigon Buffalo will get the Herald as well.
Oh my goodness. Saigon Buffalo is just bullying their way into all of these areas first to make sure that GAM cannot find any sort of turn. A TP coming in as well from Hosmed means that bottom tower is not getting aggressive against. They got nothing in mid lane. Saigon Buffalo closing out options here from this team is Style.
Oh, that handshake was dirty. It forces the Cleanse. It forces the Flash out of the GAM ADC, and the Rift Herald charges in the mid lane. This will be another tower going into the hands of the Buffaloes.
So pretty from the side of Saigon. I love what they've been able to accomplish so far. They're finding bits of aggression, and a lot of it around B&J. B&J has played immaculately so far inside of this game. I've loved the way that he's been able to operate the Poppy, utilize it as a denial tool and all other things. As Froggy,
he can't follow the glacial pass out. Oh, he gets the slow. Can he turn it? He can. Froggy with the bait and Froggy with the solo kill.
What an absolute clowning right there. Oh, Hosmed. Oh, come on,
Arrow,
man.
that's
Let
dirty from B. And that was going to be a 1v2 as well as the slows come through from the volley. Hosmed is healing, but it's not enough, and Kiai will pull a kill back for GAM.
B, you're breaking the integrity of the 1v1, man. You can't do this. You're going to make me so upset. As this was the play. How did Froggy win this situation? Look how high health.
It's called Tower Shots, Rebel.
No kidding, man. Okay, so there's the Everfrost. The W was huge from him to be able to actually get that one. Look at his health bar has to be minimal. Okay, but Connie had to know the ultimate was available. Connie had to know the ultimate was available. Like, come on, man. Like, that's a bait. Oh, did this catch him afterwards?
Wait, did it catch?
It did. Okay,
all
right.
Fair. So GAM win overall, 2-for-1 across the map.
Yeah, ultimately which we missed in the midst of everything because that bottom line play come in.
Ultimately, because it was a Jinx ult. Yeah, smart one.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And then B, of course, cheated in the bot side play and forced Hosmed to lose a 1v1 that he would have won. But we're not going to talk about that. It doesn't matter as much.
No, not yet. Okay, GAM, I feel I'm back in this. I wanted to say, Saigon Buffalo extending their leads, but because of that ult that we saw from Style, it means that GAM have brought down their goal deficit somewhat. We're talking about 1.5k behind. But I'm looking at those Drakes. I'm looking at Saigon Buffalo stacking them up. We're talking about an Infernal as well, which is just going to be helping when you look at Froggy, when you look at Shogun with some of that poke that they can bring.
It's a very mean situation, and Saigon Buffalo honestly are in an insane position to find themselves like out on Soul Point, right? They are doing their best right now, and the current kind of status of the game to do that. They're looking for Style.
B&J going to tank up the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Kiaya over the wall. The taunt comes through, but look at Froggy on the side. He gets the Alonji Style, and now Hosmed coming from the side. A 1v2. He's in the midst of all of the action. He's trying to lifesteal. He's trying to heal up. Hosmed is still alive, and Saigon Buffalo are murdering GAM where they stand 3-0 for the Buffaloes.
And that's such a massive play to come out from the side of Saigon Buffalo because they're able to win around the fight. They extend so far for the tower, but they're able to abuse them because multiple members stuck in a bad position where they would have been pincered by the side of Saigon Buffalo. I'm a little baffled by the decision making. I love the play into mid. You should just run to Dragon now. I guess they think that they could get a back timer off first, buy some items here, but I love it. A number of things. First off, Taki shoving everybody back to Froggy so that he has a chance to get onto Style. Everybody engaging with the Renata W on BJ, and watch Shogun. Watch this whole thing. One target at a time. First Levi gets to go onto Levi. Gale forces right onto Style the entire time, and then he gets to pick up B in the fight afterwards. And yes, Hosmed did a wonderful job tanking, ends up not dying, but even if he goes down, the fight is massively won from Saigon Buffalo because they let their ADC run wild. The way they had in game number 2 and the way they had game number 4, Saigon Buffalo is looking good.
Shogun must have been doing some mega meditating before, because that's a lot of chakrams that he had built up, and now Saigon Buffalo are going to be taking themselves to Infernal Soul Point. Rebel, I really don't want to cast the curses, but this is the point where we have to start talking about how Saigon Buffalo, they've gone from being the underdogs. They've always been beaten by GAM, and now they can start to taste the victory. A series win over GAM, taking themselves to an international stage, and this time out of merit, not out of luck of GAM having to go to the SEA games. This would be Saigon Buffalo beating GAM fair and square to lock in that international spot.
And it's precisely the kind of statement that you want to make walking into playoffs, precisely the statement you want to make walking into grand finals, and exactly the type of thing you want to have when you walk into the tournament at Worlds. You don't have to go through play-ins if you get in the right circumstance, and this gives you better posturing. You take the #1 seed walking into the finals, where you get side selection. You have to run back another series against GAM or Team Secret, whoever it would be. GAM would have to do this too, but Saigon Buffalo would gain so much confidence as this young team who only just went to their first international event. To walk into their second one as the #1 representative of your region would be humongous. They're not out of the woods yet. GAM still has ways back in. The biggest one is these Dragons. Yes, they are down to Soul Point, but if somehow GAM can find picks and ways to control that pick, imagine triple stacking, quadruple stacking Infernal Soul for a team like this with the amount of damage that they got. These picks are going to go off seamlessly. There's going to be nothing to accomplish, and it means that Shogun has to play so defensively to not go down inside of those fights. So this, to me, is GAM's #1 game plan. You gotta play around these Dragons. You have to take them away. Make sure not to get Soul Point, but it's also the fastest way you can eliminate members on Saigon Buffaloes with this big boost to damage.
It feels like it was only a couple of weeks ago, Rebel, that I was arguing with Yulway about who was the second best team, and he was saying Saigon Buffalo, and I was saying, no, it's not. I guess I was right, because Saigon Buffalo aren't the second best team. They're looking like the goddamn best team in the VCS.
Again, it's such a stressful thing because so few teams have been able to, put themselves in a position to be better than GAM. Flash did it back in 2019 when they had Cotty on the roster. That was the reason that Cotty got added into GAM, being the #1 mid laner inside of the VCS. And then you had that winter split in 2021, which was way off the record. Nobody really knew about it. That is when Cerberus won the split off the back of that. And in Game 5s, this has always been a struggle for GAM. They have to find a way to beat Saigon Buffalo here. Because again, if you give this much momentum walking into a finals where they get a chance to be like the #1 in the region, they get a chance to beat you, and they have side selection walking all the way through, I have faith that Saigon can do it a second time. This is their proof of concept. GAM needs to snuff this out now, needs to eliminate that kind of stigma of not being able to win out in Game 5s against teams that push them there, because they haven't done it in a very, very long time.
I would like to direct your attention towards style. He's almost at 3 items. In terms of gold, he's relatively even to Shogun. So what I want you to do, Rebel, right now is to our nearly 3K viewers in Twitch chat watching, tell us why GAM can win. How can they get back into this game? What do they need to do in an upcoming team fight?
This is actually a really amazing clash of styles where you do have a catch of a lot of the engagement that comes through from GAM, but the important part is this counter dive. Whether it's BeanJ or Froggy or even Hosmet that have been able to get onto Style and force them further back in the fight has really been the problem. Style needs to have the same room that Shogun has had for the entirety of the series to free fire into multiple members of this team. Whether it's, compounding multiple ultimates here so that Style can walk forward and throw rockets into this team, that would be massive. But the important bit is you can't let him get pushed off. Froggy getting into backline, anybody else getting into backline, forcing him away, that is a fight loss waiting to happen for the side of GAM. Can't let it happen. As B, again, fishing with that arrow. But that's the important thing of watching. Can Style put out damage? Because so far in the fights, he hasn't really been able to stand resolute and auto-attack against anybody, whereas Shogun has been able to do that for the most of the series.
Froggy flashing forward, and he will find the engage. In goes BeanJ trying to follow up on Levi. Hero's entrance comes through. Husband has been engaged on, and thus a hexagon debatable to Shogun, but there is no follow-up from GAM. Style going to be able to find one kill onto Husband, and Style is free firing. Shogun is forced to go golden. Froggy now goes in.
Oh, they got him!
Forward, and Style has been taken down. Is 2-4-1 Winds of War. But Shogun, how much can he do? Kati goes golden. Shogun will for surely die, and indeed he will. Kati will die as well, but BeanJ comes in from the side, knocks Levi into the wall. Look how low everyone is. Can BeanJ get on top of Levi? Can Levi maybe find another pick? And the answer is no. It's 3-2. Saigon Buffalo coming out on top there. I'm going to be honest with you, Rebel. I don't think either team won that fight.
This is an absurdly stressful situation, but the big thing, more members on the side of Saigon live for longer, and that means they get to, or they don't live for longer. They live the fight, or they died quickly. Hosmed was down. They've got 4 on the map ready for Infernal Dragon, number 4 coming through from his team. As this was the pick, they attempted to get onto Levi, attempted to get on multiple members, and this is where I thought Style could pop off. You can see him. He gets to hit Hosmed. He gets to hit Froggy. He gets to hit Shogun, all for free, but they absolutely bait him here, Milky. Watch this. How confident do you be? Double stopwatch, rooted up in place, not ready to throw out damage any more than he absolutely did right here. And that means that the fight is basically done. Shogun does get chased down, but at the ramification of Taki, Froggy, and BJ being able to make a response play against Kadi and nearly against Levi as well. That was insanely close. The auto attack coming through from the Lysandre passive would have made the difference.
I'm gonna have to cut you off there, Rebel, because we've got a fight for the Infernal Drake, Infernal Soul for Saigon Buffalo. Levi, the most experienced player on this damn game. He has to step up. He has to find a steal. What can he do? The king of the VCS. And Johnny Crystal comes in, and Kati gets knocked away, but Froggy is already dead. Hextech ultimatum, and Gamma following up. Shogun kept alive by the bailout, but can't get the kill onto B. And he will surely fall, but the Guardian Angel will get popped. And it is going to be the Infernal Soul goal going over to Saigon Buffalo. GAM will have a few members surviving, but it is still 2-for-1 for Saigon. And that Infernal Soul is going to be so darn clutch for them.
And I don't think they have the damage now. I mean, the biggest thing is that they still have to shut out the big damage threat, which is Shogun, followed by Froggy, and even Hosmed is kind of getting to that point. With Infernal Soul, it's so hard to remove all the damage threats, but the first one that needs to be removed is Shogun. That right there was a great example of them diving and getting pressure to Shogun. But with Guardian Angel, with Infernal Soul, you put out so much damage so quickly that it's difficult to win the backside of a fight. And right there, GAM struggled to do so. So now Saigon thrust themselves into a position. Double Infernal Drake, Infernal Soul, all the control of the world, gold advantage as well. They are really well set up to win a game like this against GAM. And now, I mean, GAM has to question how quickly can they kill Shogun in a fight? How quickly can they kill off the threats that exist from Saigon Buffalo? Because they do not have time in a fight to let him auto-attack. If it is an extended engagement coming through, Saigon win all day because of the Infernal Soul, especially if Shogun lives. So here, it has to be an instant assassination. Otherwise, they are doomed.
While we've been working hard on the cast, while the players have been working hard on the game, our stats team have been working hard as well, and they have found an absolute banger statistic. It has been 1,049 days since Vietnam, since the VCS was at Worlds, then GAM, or pardon me, Saigon Buffalo, they tasted international, arguably international success at MSI, and they want to be going international again.
They absolutely do. They made top 6. They want to make it in. And again, we aren't even going to consider talking about group stages right now because group stages is still on the board for the winner as opposed to having to go through play-ins and everything else. Both these teams want to vie for not having to play through play-ins. Not that I think that either of these teams are incapable of getting through, more so that I think it's just one extra added stress that you don't want to have to tack onto your team when you're traveling international, especially for players that don't have the biggest and most experience in the entire world. Levi's been there, but for the most, I don't think Kadi or Kiaya have really been there. I don't think Styles been there. And so, you know, you have a lot of inexperience, even on a team like GAM that feels like they should be commanding all this world's presence. They just haven't been there. And so you don't want to have to worry about qualifying for it. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you could lose out of your biggest opportunity in years just because you didn't win in the final, just because you didn't put yourself in the right position. Even if you lose the series, GAM has to keep their heads high and make sure they come back competitive in the finals. The same with Saigon. Obviously, you don't want to work your way through play-ins. And this is it's a really bold place to be for both these teams. GAM has to figure out a way to make this game work. They want to keep their momentum walking into grand finals.
We're nearly 30 minutes into this game, Rebel, and this is a game. This is now a series that can be decided with one more fight. On the flip side, maybe we'll get 4 or 5 fights that are so even with only one member left standing that neither team can make any real advancements on the other's base. But right now, Saigon Buffalo are trying to get some pressure on the top side of the map. They're trying to get some pressure around the Baron Nashor.
They need to note really quickly that Style has stopwatch. No Guardian Angel available for Shogun. I think they want to farm him till he's on his Infinity Edge, and he's got to be close to it at some point, because you're going to be close there any minute now. It looks like he's backing. But the big thing is, again, that defensive tool, that Guardian Angel, not available for this fight, and the stopwatch is available for Style. They cannot get baited into diving for Style specifically, because it will be the death of whoever goes diving. They will just press that stopwatch. Everybody else around them will be able to kind of surround. it means the rest of the fight goes not great, or at least it's a lot harder to manage the fight if that stopwatch gets popped perfectly by Style. So that's one thing I think that Saigon Buffalo also wants to slow play. They don't want to take it super fast for Baron. They don't really want to have to wait for Elder Dragon, but of course, if Shogun's got the Guardian Angel, it's going to be near impossible to win this fight as GAM into Saigon, because you can't erase the #1 damage dealer, especially with this Infernal Soul up. They're going to push their way into River. Again, they've got control of it. They can put out quite a bit here. Shogun can do some damage to this Baron buff, but they know it's starting. They're baiting out a fight, I think, a little bit from the side of Saigon Buffalo, as GAM has to be there. Kiaya's on the split map. He's got TP readily available for a fight like this if Saigon Buffalo were able to start up this Baron.
And Froggy's looking for the engage. He's going to find the ultimate on Ducati, but this time Shogun is in the fight. Moonlight Vigil doesn't land onto anyone, but the hook shot from over the wall into a hero's entrance. Shogun is solo, but Shogun is still alive, kiting back, dishing out the damage, and Saigon Buffalo are winning the fight. Kiai on the run. Hazman steps forward and picks up the kill. 2-0 for the Buffaloes.
In a miraculous turn of events right here, Saigon Buffalo somehow slipped Shogun from the Surly Bonds that looked like absolute death, from Kiaya being able to come in and Styles' ultimate nearly tagging him. The Gale Force at the last second buys him the space necessary to get away. And that is what wins this situation for the side of Saigon. They're able to keep their ADC up. They kill people as they're clustering into one area. They grab the Baron buff. Now they push out bot. Now they push out mid, and they go for the Elder Soul. And you can't ask for a more powerful composition at that point. You've got a near full build Aphelios with Infernal Soul, with what could be Elder Dragon, and a Baron buff adorned on them. That's gotta be the end of the game if they're able to snag it up. GAM, I don't think there's a better opportunity for you to fight than around this, because if you have to play around Elder Dragon, they're going to kill you. You are going to die way too quickly for them to be able to do anything against. And so for Saigon, their job is to just take this cleanly or to force an engagement. They use their Baron buff to set up these waves a little bit more effectively, but ultimately, you are never getting a better fight than having all 3 buffs at once for Saigon Buffalo. And so I think they can go to GAM into a team fight right here, because they don't want to give up that massive objective to the side of Saigon. This could be the close of the entire game right here and right now if GAM loses the fight.
Take a breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Saigon Buffalo with a potential Elder. GAM stuck between a rock and a hard place. They need to steal this. They need to win the fight. And their hopes are dire. Look at Levi. He needs to find a way to get into that Drake pit. He needs to steal this away from BJ. He needs to show his class. Diamonds are built under pressure. And Levi, you need to show up right now for your team. Enchanted Crystal Arrow doesn't miss. And Saigon Buffalo take that as an opportunity to engage your forces, being Carty away. But GAM
Froggy's got him kicked out.
away. And Froggy has found Levi. He's stopping him from getting into the biz. But Levi goes in. BJ secures the Elder. And Kiaya is left on his own. Saigon Buffalo get 2 kills. They get the Elder. And maybe that could even be the game, Rebel.
That's the game. Almost certainly they're going to be able to push down mid lane. We were hoping Levi was going to be able to get in and contest and try to smite that away. But Froggy, combined with the rest of the team, putting in the right focus. Shogun nailing a massive, Infernum Moonlight Vigil. Just knocked 2 people out of a fight. And this is it. They've got Baron, they've got Infernal, they've got Elder. You don't fight this team. They have to hope and pray that Style somehow can put out the damage. But I don't think they can. Shogun wants it!
Shogun's got Elder, and Shogun is feeling himself. Saigon Buffalo have never beaten GAM in a playoff series, but for the first time ever, they will taste victory. Saigon Buffalo advance to the grand finals, but more important,